Hello, F2 Fan 5000 here. F2 Fan, but here to talk about FIA Formula 3. I'm sorry I missed Imola. I'm sorry I missed the round in Austria. However, we're going to cover it right now. So, Rafael Camara was leading after the halfway point at Circuit de Catalunya. The only driver that was near him in the championship was Nikola Solov. I did a mid-season video analysing the data. Although Rafael Camara had the qualifying pace, Solov had the race pace, and I analysed that's because Solov was making better opportunity of the sprint races, whereas Camara was struggling to make points in the sprint races to get decent results, and was either having incidents or wasn't having any pace. The championship, the order of the top 10 has changed drastically since Austria. So what happened is, at the Red Bull Ring, Nikola Solov has put it on pole. Well, I said Solov is fast this year, and he's put it on pole by a margin of almost 2/10. The grid is very mixed up. A lot of drivers have struggled. They've struggled to get, what can I say? They've struggled to get the lap in, but it didn't mean they were slow. So, and both races were very exciting. James Wharton held on to the lead from the front row, and Alessandro Giusti, who up to that point had been very consistent and was climbing up the driver's standings, he finished close behind James Wharton. Nikola Solov climbed up the grid from 12th because of the reverse grid nature of the sprint race to the podium. Actually, Chukwu finished there, but he got one of those silly penalties. So, and I don't like the penalties because we're here to try and determine who the best, fastest drivers of the upcoming generation are. The penalties skew the picture. Okay, but anyway, Solov's done an amazing job to get where he was. And Tramnitz, who started 17th, qualified 17th, finished in the points as well in the sprint race, showing that he had the pace. So did Stenson. He also did the same thing. Camara came in for a couple of points, but a very exciting race. But the point was, some drivers who'd qualified out of position, such as Tramnitz and Stenson, and don't forget, these are the two drivers that fought Andrea Kimi Antonelli for the FRECA title back in 2023. Stenson eventually finishing second in the championship, Tramnitz finishing third. So, as we can see, they've found their form in the sprint race, and then the feature race was even more so. So, remember, it's not a long lap around Austria, and they only got 26 laps, but starting from 17th on the grid, Tramnitz made his way to the podium. Stenson made his way to the podium. Murray Boyer made his way to what was 4th place. Uga Chukwu has found pace as a Prema driver, qualified in the top 10 and finished in the top 5 in the feature race. And some of the drivers that qualified well had no pace in the race. Unfortunately, Bruno Del Pino had an excellent qualifying in 4th, but dropped down the order. Brando Badoer, Prema driver, but his terrible season keeps going worse all the time. You know, so there were these drivers that came through the field and others are going back. Now, Solov dominated the race, and then he was excluded after the race because of plank wear. It's just, I feel unbelievable because, as I said, if there's something wrong with the plank, does that give him an advantage anyway? If it doesn't, That's really unfair, because we want to tell who the best drivers are of the upcoming generation. Solov dominates the race, and yet he doesn't get any points. He gets 2 points for pole position. That's it. So the win was handed to Stenson there. Trumnitz second, Boyer third, and these three drivers have shot up the standings. I don't think any of them will catch Camera, but the Trident is not as competitive as it was earlier in the year. Very exciting racing in Austria for Formula 3. Terrific racing. Just Trumnitz making his way through the field was fabulous. As for Silverstone, Solov again put his car on pole position. Even though he's the fastest driver, this is my point about FIA Formula 3. This championship is so brief. There's only 10 rounds, boom, it's over. And he's had an issue in the sprint race. And in the feature race, well, we'll get to that in a minute, but the sprint race was at least in mostly dry conditions. And Tzonopol Inthra held on, much like James Wharton held on for the sprint race win in Austria. Just there was no way through for anybody. Stenson and Boyer again on the podium. They're both in the top 5 in the championship now. And I'm just going to go through the team by team as well, so makes it a bit easier to sort of focus my mind. So we look at Prema. They're been a lot quicker the last 2 rounds, but the results aren't coming so easily. Brando Badoer still on 0 points. Noel Leon is doing a decent job. He got a feature race podium, but the feature race is shortened, so the points aren't as much as they usually would be. Ugachukwu got points in the sprint race. He's driving very quickly, but he made the gamble for the wrong tyres. So in the feature race, wet weather, the track was damp, but it was drying out, so about half the field started on dry tyres, and they sunk to the back, and they never got those positions back because the rain came at around halfway through the race, and then the race was red flagged because the rain was very heavy. Okachukwu made the wrong decision with the tyres. Noel Leon made the right decision, and he's got the podium. Trident, disastrous weekend. They got a couple of points in the sprint race. In the feature race, they were all on dry tyres. That absolutely shocking. ART, Lawrence Van Hoopen picked up decent points this weekend. Nothing spectacular, but still decent points. And Tuukka Tarpinen had an awful weekend, poor qualifying. After a bunch of post-race penalties, he's picked up a point in the feature race. But for a driver that at some stage looked very promising, like one of the most fastest upcoming young talents, it's been very disappointing for Tuukka Tarpinen. James Wharton also, did he score points? Yeah, James Wharton had a decent feature race. He was on the wet tyre, finished 6th, so good points there. But nothing that's going to bring them back into championship contention. There's only 3 rounds to go. They're well out of it, all of them. Campos, they had a fabulous weekend. Mari Boyer finished on the podium in the sprint, and then he's won the feature race. It's not 25 points, it's only 19. Intrafuvazak got the sprint race win. Nikola Solov was very fast all weekend, so they've got Campos have had pole, sprint race win, feature race win, it's all with their 3 drivers. They've all delivered, but unfortunately Nikola Solov, who I think is the fastest driver out there at the moment, the points are not coming his way these last 2 weekends, except for the sprint race podium in Austria. And then High Tech, only one driver continues to be a point scorer. That's Stenson there. and he's well inside the top 5, so he should be on his way to Formula 2 next season. And McLaren of late have an eye for talent. Yeah, second in the sprint race, so yeah, very good for Stenson there. But then the feature race, he's been on the dry tyres, lost out. MP Tramnitz had a poor weekend. Delpino got a couple of points, and Giusti, well, it's been struggle street lately. I think he would have been on for some good points in the sprint race, in the feature race. He was on those wet tyres, but he had a spin early on. Yeah, Delpino got a couple of points. I think he deserved that because he's qualified well sometimes, but struggled with things like clutch, race starts. He's impressed me. Let's say he's exceeded my expectations, and Tim Tramnitz, maybe this is the weekend where the consistency comes to an end. The gamble on dry tyres didn't work. But one driver that had a very good weekend is Van Amersfoort's Teofil Nall. He's finished second, he finished both races in the points, and he got all these penalties in the sprint race, took him out of the points. But in the feature race, he's got a second place. He's now climbing up the standings. He's a 7th. That might propel him into Formula 2 next season. Santiago Ramos had a couple of minor points, but you know, he's a very inconsistent driver. Sometimes he's blindingly fast and can win the feature race. Other times he's at the back. But lucky for him, he was on the wet tyres, was able to come home in 8th place. Now, Roden had a disappointing weekend, I suppose. Callum Voisin, last year he was his breakout weekend, getting a podium, which was a win on the road, but he got a post-race penalty. But now he's got no points, absolutely last. And Louis Sharp was on for some points. I don't think Louis Sharp is as bad as his results suggest. I think he's quite a good driver. However, his race ended in a crash. Not a good weekend for the New Zealanders. His countryman also having a crash in the F1 race. Roman Belinsky, he's had a very good result in the feature race, coming home 4th. As I said, not full points, but he's entered back into the top 10 of the championship. And as I said in my mid-season video, the data suggests he's the fastest Roden driver. I don't know what happened to him at the Red Bull Ring, a dreadful weekend. But here at Silverstone, he took the right tyre gamble. I think there's other things I have to say. I'll just finish the team by team. So I've got AIX, they're always chaos. Hadley continues to struggle. Marinangeli's very consistently at the back. Brad Benavides has flashes of pace, but a lot of the time it's undone by a crash or needless contact or spin or whatever. So they come away with 0 points. Dams is an interesting one. I mentioned my mid-season review, the data analysis, and I said actually Christian Ho's got very few points, but he's doing a good job. A lot faster in race. He's slightly faster in qualifying and race pace than the more highly experienced Matthias Zagazeta. And although he struggled in Austria, he's had a breakout weekend in Silverstone, qualifying in the top 10. He held on for a 6th place in the sprint race, and he went one better to finish 5th and score 10 points. Oh yeah, it's not full points, but anyway, he's got plenty of points in the feature race as well. A fabulous weekend for Christian Ho. Whereas Zagazeta and Lecorte, they never looked like scoring points. They're always at the back. Yeah, so I think that's one for Eurocup 3, one for Singapore. Excellent work by Christian Ho. And that leads me to what I wanted to say before. is what we saw last year in Formula 3 in the second half of the season, that rookie drivers or drivers from series that are not necessarily associated with, like GB3 and Eurocup 3, drivers from those sort of series came on strong in the last sort of 3 or 4 rounds, and I think we're seeing that again. Roman Belinsky was a long time in Freca. He's finally been able to make the jump to F3, and he's doing well. Lawrence Van Hoopen, again, he's another one. Last year started him. He was always quick in the sprint race, but not in the feature race. Who else we got? Yeah, Christian Ho, Bruno Del Pino. These sort of drivers are coming on strong in the second half of the season. So be looking, just keep your eye, look out for these rookie drivers that are coming on strong. Drivers that may have flown under the radar in the first half of the season, and they're really going to come up the order now. So obviously I think Campos, as I said in my pre-season data analysis predictions video, I think Campos potentially have the best car. Murray Boyer is going from strength to strength. You know, Van Hoopen's coming on strong, but it can change so quickly as well. Soloff, I think, is the fastest driver there, but it's a question, Campos and Soloff going to maximise Tramnit's bounce back from a difficult weekend. What about Stromstead? He's been struggling since Monaco. Basically, he struggled. At the start of the year, he was, the second behind Karma, and now he's dropping down the order. Teofil Nall, he's inconsistent but very fast on his day. Tarpanen's lost. Again, I think Belinsky's one to watch. Ramos, can he win another race? Callum Voisin, Spa-Francorchamps, very unpredictable. Belinsky, Ramos, I don't know. Can he do another season in F3? Maybe. Callum Voisin is not really getting the results I'd hoped for. Like someone like Voisin, will he have the money to go to Formula 2? Does he have money to do another season in F3? Intra Fuvazak, maybe he's got the money to go to F2. Charlie Wirtz, we might see someone here who's in the midfield like Noel Leon or Wirtz or Okachukwu. Someone like that, Christian Ho, make up the jump to F2 and do a Sebastian Montoya, or an Alex Dunn, absolutely surprise everyone. I think Okachukwu was a very good driver, but he's had a settling in period in this F3. Prem is struggling, and although we're starting to see results, I don't think it would hurt him to do another season. Christian Ho, again, I'm actually quite impressed with him. I don't know what he should do next year. Maybe he should look for the team like Trident or Campos. Yeah, but other than that, I can't wait for the next couple of rounds in F3, because Spa-Francorchamps, especially if there's a bit of wet weather. We don't want too much wet weather and get a red flag, but if there's just a little bit of wet weather, it can be very exciting. I think that happened last year. We got some absolutely unexpected results. Yeah, if we look back at 2024, I'm just really buzzing for these 2 rounds. I feel a bit bad that Spa-Francorchamps comes first. I feel like Hungaroring should come first. Spa-Francorchamps is a really exciting one. Callum Voisin won it, see? Absolutely unexpected. He put it on pole. Alex Dunn on the front row as well. With Max Esterson in the top 6. Just absolutely turning the order on its head. And Feature race, yeah, there we go. Callum Voisin winning the race. Sebastian Montoya second. You know, Leonardo Fornaroli, Mr. Consistency in third. Esterson in the top 10. Yeah, turned the whole order on its head, the whole pecking order. I think with just a touch of rain, maybe we don't even need rain, but Spa-Francorchamps should be very fascinating. I can't wait for that round of the Formula 3 Championship.